I have some concerning Raiders rumors on Kolton Miller and Jacobe Meyers. My name is Mitchell Renz. You're watching the Raiders Report, and I recently saw an article from Vincent Bonsignore from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, and essentially he breaks down his thoughts, and when you listen to what Vinny says, Vinny doesn't believe that the Raiders are going to extend Kolton Miller or Jacobe Meyers this offseason. So before I get into what Vinny had to say, and I'll also weigh in on my 2 cents of why I believe the Raiders should extend Jacobe and Kolton Miller, what do you think the Raiders should do? Do you think the Raiders should only extend Jacobe? Type 1. If you're like, they should only extend Kolton Miller, type 2. If you believe that they should extend both players, type 3. If you don't think that either player, Miller or Jacobe, deserve an extension, I want you to type 4. I will be very, very transparent. I believe the Las Vegas Raiders should type those 3s because I believe that Geno Smith was traded for a reason, and that Jacobe and Kolton Miller are players that you should want to tie to Geno Smith, to Pete Carroll, to Max Crosby, and they should be players that are all about having for the long haul because I do think that they're a part of this long-term plan that the Raiders have. Also, you don't find too many guys that are as talented as Jacobe, as talented as Kolton Miller, that show up for non-mandatory things in the offseason and that have already literally verbally said out loud, I want to be a Raider and I want to be a part of this team. For that reason, I am typing my 3. So let's first, though, get into the Kolton Miller side of this. And according to Vincent Bonsignore, Bonsignore does not believe that the Las Vegas Raiders will extend Kolton Miller this offseason. As soon as I saw this article that Vinny put out, and he put it out a few days ago, I was like, man, that's kind of surprising that he doesn't think that the Raiders are going to extend Miller. So I figured, all right, shit. Let's go ahead and let's talk about it. Now, when I break this down for y'all, I will say you're going to go through, you're going to see some quotes here from Bonsignore, and the first quote is this. Miller, 29, has been an anchor of the Raiders' offensive line since 2018. After a slow start last season, while coming off offseason shoulder surgery, he delivered his typical high-level production. Miller has said he wants to be a Raider for life, and the club is open to re-signing him at the right price. I think when you're the Raiders and you're hearing right price, and if you're Kolton Miller, you got to be thinking top 10 offensive line money. And here are the highest paid left tackles per year in the National Football League. And one of the deals that I've kind of compared to the extension that I believe Kolton Miller could get is Deion Dawkins, who also 31, 32 years old, ended up getting that contract extension. And based on the age, based on the skill set, if you're Kolton Miller, I think that the number that you're looking at to start is about $20 million a year. Bonsignore has also said that he believes that the Raiders and Miller are a little bit off on what the asking price is, and that's one of the biggest reasons why no deal has been done yet. Let's keep it moving, though, on why Vinny doesn't think that the Raiders are going to extend Kolton Miller. Finding that common ground could be a little bit difficult, which is one of the things that Vinny did end up saying. And when you think about common ground has to be something where the Raiders know we're getting a good deal. I also know from talking to Miller, he just wants to be valued and he wants to be a player that they sit up here and they go, all right, this is definitely that somebody that can help us out in the long term. So here is the exact quote. Finding that common ground could be a challenge, and Miller, who plays a premium position at left tackle, has to consider his worth on the open market. Charles Grant, an athletic left tackle drafted in the 3rd round this year, could play a role in that decision. He's likely to use 2025 as a developmental season. Depending on his progress, he could take over for Miller in the 2026 season. So I do know that Charles Grant was impressive this offseason. He impressed at OTAs. He was impressive during minicamp. I do think, though, he is a pretty raw prospect, and betting on him being ready to go next season is a massive risk, especially when we know the struggles that Geno Smith has had at the offensive line position in the past with Seattle. Now, I get it. Charles Grant was great last season at William & Mary. Highest PFF grade out of any offensive tackle entering the draft, 91.2 overall. But I have heard from multiple people at Raiders practice that he is still far away from being ready to be a reliable starter, and that the Raiders do want to give Charles Grant and Caleb Rogers some time to, mature and marinate a little bit before just throwing them out to the fire. Because what I would be worried about is if you throw Charles Grant out into the fire too soon, he turns into Brandon Parker. And I just don't want Brandon Parker. So here's again what the prediction is now from Vincent Bonsignore on extending Kolton Miller. His prediction, quote, the Raiders will monitor Miller's effectiveness in coordinator Chip Kelly's offense while tracking Grant's development. They will be in a better position next spring to decide whether to reinvest in Miller, probably on a deal that pays him $20 million to $23 million per season, or give Grant the job on his cost-effective rookie deal. Now, what he's saying there essentially is the Raiders want to see how Miller does in the first year with Chip Kelly. Wants to see how he does in the first year with Raiders' new offensive line coach, Brennan Carroll, the son of Pete Carroll. Because of everything that Vinny's saying there, that prediction is very clear to me. Vincent Bonsignore is predicting that the Las Vegas Raiders will not extend Kolton Miller this season, that they're going to wait and see how it pans out, and if they are confident in him after this season, then they're going to give him a contract at $20 to $23 million, and if they aren't confident in him, then they're going to turn the keys over to Charles Grant, somebody that they drafted in the third round, 99 overall. The problem with that idea is this. I believe the Las Vegas Raiders need to extend Kolton Miller, and they need to do it right now. And coming up here on this show, I'm going to tell you exactly why it needs to happen right now. And quite frankly, I'm starting to get a little agitated that it hasn't happened already, because I don't understand why and how that this team goes out and they trade for a quarterback in Geno Smith. They give him a 2-year extension before he's ever played a snap, and you're not interested in extending the guy that's going to protect his blind side, and you're not interested in extending the guy that's also going to be his top wide receiver. That thought process to me doesn't make a lot of sense. I'll tell you why, though. You got to extend them now here in just a moment, but I do want to tell you, if you're trying to get your hands on some Raiders 4th of July shirts, 4th of July is literally this week. It's Friday. Get your hands on them right now. chatsports.com/RaidersUSA. If you love America and if you love the Las Vegas Raiders, then I got the perfect shirt for you. I'm also somebody that likes to try to kill two birds with one stone, and I never know what the hell to wear on 4th of July because I'm always eating food, I'm drinking beers, and I'm chilling by a pool. Why not rep your favorite team while you're also repping the #1 country in the world? chatsports.com/RaidersUSA. That link is available to everybody watching this show right now down in the comments and in the description of today's show. So here's why the Raiders need to extend Kolton Miller. The first reason is he is still playing at a high level. He is still a legit left tackle. From week 6 to 18 last season, he literally allowed only one sack, and he's still proven to me that he is a top 15 offensive tackle in the league. You traded for Geno Smith. How on earth are you going to trade for a quarterback if you don't have his blind side protected, especially with all the issues that Geno had to deal with before in Seattle? We have not had many players of Kolton Miller's stature that have said, I want to be a Raider. And he literally said a few weeks ago that he wants to be a Raider for life. I've had the opportunity to sit down and talk to Kolton. I've had the opportunity to kick his butt in a wing-eating contest. They do not make human beings like Kolton Miller, and I say that because he is such an outstanding human being. Like, people don't realize how good of a dude he is, how much of a leader he is in that locker room. He's been a team captain, and he wants to be a Raider, and he showed the Raiders this offseason. I want to be a Raider by showing up to non-mandatory things. So you're going to reward a player that's as talented as Kolton Miller. You're going to reward him by not giving him an extension. You know, that's what that's going to tell every single other big-name Raiders player in the future. If I'm showing up to non-mandatory things and I got $0 million guaranteed, why the hell would I show up? I want guys that are out there even when they don't have to be. That's a Raider mentality. That's a compete mindset. And that's what Kolton Miller did. The Raiders have the money in order to do it. You have the 9th most money right now in salary cap space, probably somewhere around $31, $32 million, depending on if you look at Spytek or over the cap. But we have the money to do it. So why not, hell, get the deal done already? And then Miller does fit this Raiders team's timeline. I keep saying this over and over again, that the Raiders' timeline, to me, is a 2 to 3 window. And I believe that Pete Carroll's trying to be the best they possibly can be in 2027, that way he gets that extra year in that contract in 2028. But if you already extended Geno Smith, you're telling me Kolton Miller at age 29 can't be still one of the best left tackles, 29, 30, 31, when he showed you last year from week 6 to 18 that he can be that guy. He's just got to be healthy, and he's 100% healthy this season. The math ain't mathing to me, Raiders. Let's get this deal done already. Before we get into the breakdown around Jacobe Meyers, I do want to tell you all that we got a special live show. When? Thursday, July 10th. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure those notifications are turned on. When you see who the special guest is, you're guaranteed going to want to ask him a question. And if you miss this live show, that's on you. But I promise you, you're not going to want to miss it. Let's go to the second part of this program, which Vincent Bonsignore does not believe that the Las Vegas Raiders are going to extend Jacobe Meyers this offseason. So when I started the show off saying there's some concerning rumors, to me, and I don't mean to speak on behalf of all Raider fans out there, but when I make titles to shows, I do it based on my thought process. And if the Raiders are truly not planning on extending Colton Miller and Jacobe Meyers, that is concerning to me because that doesn't make sense. And when the Raiders have had a plan, I feel like they've executed that plan very well. You not extending Jacobe and Colton Miller doesn't align with everything you've been doing this offseason, and I don't think it follows the plan. So here's what Vinny had to say. Meyers, 28, coming off a career season, eclipsing more than 1,000 yards receiving for the first time in his career. His 87 receptions for 1,027 yards and 4 touchdowns were achieved with abysmal quarterback play. So there's a reason for optimism that he will be even more productive playing with new quarterback Geno Smith. I agree with everything that Vinny has to say here in this quote because Jacoby is one of the best receivers in the NFL. Do I think that he's top 20? I think he deserves to be in that conversation. To me, he's no doubt top 30. Now, depending on who you look at for stats, I'll admit, I don't think that he had a drop last season. There are some people that do have him slotted with a drop, but look at the numbers up on screen. That's with quarterbacks like quarterbacks with Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, Jarrett Stidham, right? Like, we're talking about guys even along the lines of Desmond Ridder. This is really, really bad quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo, plus awful offensive coordinators. Jacoby has still been very reliable, even before he even came to the Raiders. Let's keep it moving here, though, from Vincent Bonsignore. The Raiders win now mantra suggests they want to maximize these next few years, so it makes sense they want to extend the relationship with Meyers, and sure, he and Brock will remain intact with Smith. That said, they did invest draft picks in receivers Jack Bech, Dante Thornton, and Tommy Mellott. There was a need to add depth at the position, but could Bech be insurance policy in case Meyers leaves in free agency? All of those things that Vinny was just talking about there, and I hear him loud and clear because I do really think that the Raiders were smart in going out and getting a Jack Bech, going out and getting Dante Thornton Jr., going out and getting a Tommy Mellott. Trey Tucker has also taken a step up. And maybe because the Raiders are confident in Tucker, Thornton, Bech, and Mellott, maybe that's the reason why they don't go out and reward Jacobe Meyers. But here's what's confusing. Vinny's sitting up here and he's predicting that the Raiders aren't going to extend Meyers now, but he's predicting that the Raiders are going to extend Meyers next offseason, which is kind of the problem that I have with everything that Vinny predicted. Keeping Meyers probably will cost the Raiders an annual average salary of $17 million to $18 million. It's a fair price for a receiver expected to become a reliable partner for Smith. A 3-year, $58 million contract with $35 million guaranteed could get it done in March. Now, originally, my contract projection that I gave for Jacoby this offseason was 2 years, $40 million, fully guaranteed. That number is a little bit higher than the one Vinny gave out because Vinny is saying if the Raiders were to sign him in the offseason, 3 years at 17 to 18, it were to come out to about that $58 million number. Because of what Jacoby's making this season, if you give Jacobe Meyers, who right now is basically making $15 million, 2 years, $40 million, that makes his new deal 3 years, $55 million, and an average base salary of $18.3 million. My point is, you can save money now by extending him. And making him the 22nd highest paid wide receiver, I actually think is a fair deal now, but that's going to be a deal that's really good in a few years from now. Also, the other very confusing part about what Vinny said there is he's like, well, you tie Jacoby 3 years in the offseason, next offseason, to Geno Smith. Well, that's technically not 100% true because right now Geno's got 3 years on his deal. Jacobe Meyers, next offseason, if that deal ends up going down, Jacoby will have 3 years. Geno Smith will only have 2. If the plan is to lock him in with Geno, you give him a 2-year extension this year, and you're not going to have to pay as much money in the long run. The reason why you end up getting this deal done now, first off, he is criminally underrated. And I don't give a shit what anybody says. Jacobe Meyers is one of the most underrated NFL players. He was literally voted the most underrated receiver by his peers. And he's putting up numbers that doesn't get enough credit. I don't know if y'all know this. Jacobe Meyers has more catches than DK Metcalf, Mike Evans over the past 4 years combined. In fact, he's got the 17th most catches in the NFL over the past 3-4 years. Why? He's a consistent player, and he's been doing that with just absolutely bullshit play at the quarterback position. The next reason, it's going to be very similar to what I said about Colton Miller. You traded for Geno Smith. Why are you going to trade for a quarterback if you're not going to have a number one option? And yes, I want to believe in Jack Bech, Tommy Mellott, Dante Thornton Jr., and I want to believe in Trey Tucker. But you know who I know I can believe in? Jacobe Meyers. He wants to be a Raider. He has said multiple times this offseason and the years past that he wants to be a Raider. And in today's day and age where you got all these guys that are just specialty receivers, divas, man, Devontae, diva, George Pickens, diva, you don't got to worry about Jacobe Meyers sitting out. And if there's one position right now that is filled with freaking divas, it is the wide receiver position. And if we're going to run an offense that's predicated on running the football, you need somebody that can swallow a humble pill a little bit and not be a diva. He fits the Raiders' timeline. He's 28 years old. He's going to be a reliable receiver for Geno Smith in this offense for the next 3, 4, hell, maybe even 5 years. And then next, it's this. It's going to cost more next offseason. And just like what I mentioned here with Colton Miller, it's going to cost more offseason. Because when you allow a player to hit the open market, it simply costs more. Right now, Jacobe Meyers and Colton Miller, if you gave them both a 2-year extension and tied them to the Raiders for the next 3 years instead of waiting this year and then giving them an extension next offseason after they proved it to you, to me, that's not what smart organizations do. Overall, in conclusion, when I read this article from Vinny, it kind of made me think of my wife, Alex, because she's always like, oh, you want to eat your cake and you want to have it too. When you look at this entire article from Vinny, I do think that he wants his cake and he wants to be able to eat it too. Like in his mind, he's going, no, we're not going to extend Jacoby. We're not going to extend Colton Miller, but we're just going to be able to get him back next offseason. Well, what if that doesn't happen? Like, if I was the Raiders, I would take a little bit of a page out of the book last offseason because I was somebody that said, let's go extend Robert Spillane. Let's go extend Trevon Merrick. Let's go extend some of these other players that we were unable to bring back. Now, sure, we got lucky being able to get back Malcolm Kuntz. I hate to break it to you. Colton Miller and Jacobe Meyers, if they hit the open market next season and they have good years, because again, the only way that Vinny's saying that you're going to bring them back is if they have good years. If they have good years, salary cap goes up. Other NFL teams are going to be looking. That price tag is going to go much, much higher. And then you put yourself in a risk of, well, maybe Charles Grant isn't ready. Maybe Trey Tucker, Dante, Jack Bech, maybe these guys aren't ready. If you believe in Jacobe Meyers and Colton Miller, you get that extension done this offseason. And I'm not afraid to admit it. I believe in both of those players on and off the field. For that reason, the rumors that Vinny put out there about the Raiders not extending Colton Miller and Jacobe Meyers this offseason, they concern the hell out of me because I don't understand an organization that has done so many smart things this offseason, that has had a plan. How the hell is Jacobe Meyers and Colton Miller not a part of that long-term plan?